Hi there. This is Belinda Colleen. Welcome back, or welcome for the first time. I'm happy to see you. I'd like to discuss something that I've been working on myself, and I'm kind of excited about it, to be honest. As a person that has been in marketing for many, many years of my life, one thing that was always drilled into my head as a corporate salesperson or a marketing person was that it's so much cheaper to keep customers than it is to attract new customers. And I've been thinking about that a lot. I've noticed in my eBay data, and I'm going to be talking about primarily eBay today because that's the main platform that I'm on as a reseller. My followers are growing. And I started thinking about that because the thing that's tricky about eBay is you really, while we can hand out information about our where we are on eBay, it's a little harder to cultivate your brand than it would be if you're maybe on Shopify or some other platform where they give you more freedom. But I think the thing that I've seen or viewed, I mean, I'm constantly adjusting, trying to figure out the best way to do this. And I know we all do that. We play with formulas, we play with categories, that type of thing. But the one thing I do believe is that I'm getting a little bit of a reputation in certain categories. Now, I'll be the first to say, if I see something of value that I think will sell on eBay, I will buy it. Doesn't matter what it is for the most part. Now, I pretty much checked out on electronics because I realized that was not my cup of tea. But the three categories that I've selected that seem to be doing well for me are men's clothes, women's plus size, and oh my gosh, shoes. Well, shoes for men and women, but mostly men. I started doing an experiment because I was trying to get my average sales price up. And it's, as you start trying to figure your margin and everything, it gets real tricky to find the things that A, there's a demand for, B, that you can find, and C, that you can make the most money on. And so after doing my own experimentation, I do realize that men's clothes and shoes I can make a little more money on than women's. Don't know why that is. It could be what I'm finding in the area that I'm in. For instance, one of the workers at Goodwill told me the other day, and I thought it was so interesting. She just had put some shoes down and snatched them up so fast it made her head spin, and she laughed. She goes, "You already got those shoes?" And I said, "Yeah." They were some great Ralph Lauren boots, Polo Ralph Lauren work boots, and I've sold those before. And even though they were a little high, they were $11.99, which I don't usually want to pay that much, but if I'm going to sell them for 50 or 60, I don't have a problem paying up for them. So I snatched those up, stuck them in my cart, and she laughed at me. But I have gotten to that point where I know what is going to sell, and I'm getting a lot better just through experience and looking things up and what has sold in the past at knowing what is, what I've got to really look for. And if I see it, I've got to grab it. And of course, we all have our tactics. Like I always throw everything in the cart that I think I might want to buy, and then I go off in a corner or something and look up the things that I'm not sure about, which is usually, honestly, still 70-80% of what's in the cart, I'll still look it up because I have been burned a few times where I thought I was smarter than I was. That's a problem. I do that sometimes. So, but there are certain things now that I feel pretty confident about, and I don't always look up. But so I chose my three categories, and I've noticed that I've kind of looked to see I think the main areas where I'm starting to get some repeat customers, I'm not sure I'm getting them in men yet, in the men's area, but I do think I'm getting some plus size I've noticed by, it'll tell you, if they're a repeat customer when they buy something from you. And my plus size women's clothes, I'm starting to get a lot of repeat buyers. And I thought that's interesting and that's cool. And I really love it. Because if you can find attractive things for women that are plus size, they love it, because there's a lot of stuff that looks like a big old shapeless sack that they sell in the plus size area. And while if you're a size 6, you might be able to get away with that, if you're a size 18 or 20, that's going to look terrible on you. So I really think it feels great to provide something that people really need, that really are appreciative. The one thing I will say, and that's easy to find. That's the thing that's so interesting to me. I have a lot more luck finding really attractive women's plus size clothes than I ever would have thought that I would. And I could find them and they're reasonably priced. And I'm buying mostly tops. And the only bad thing about the plus size tops that I'll say is I can't always get the margin I want. So I've kind of decided that I need to just lean in more to dresses and jackets, blazers, purses, of course, which aren't plus size, but things that, I'm still trying to get my margin up, and it's a little trickier for me with the plus size clothes. Whereas with the men's shoes, not at all. And I've gotten pretty good at figuring out what sells for me for the men. And just to give you some ideas, I never thought the dress shoes would do as well, but the dress shoes that are sort of dress / casual seem to do well for me, like loafers. If I see a really nice pair of loafers, those things sell. And of course, any sneakers that are, popular, they sell too. But they also seem to have more competition. Like if I see Florsheim loafers, I will snag those and I'll pay up for them every day of the week, because those sell, and they sell for quite a bit, and the competition isn't terrible. The only thing about the sneakers is sometimes the competition's terrible. One of my buddies in the thrift store told me that there's a famous basketball player who turns all of his secondhand shoes into that Goodwill. And I thought, that's interesting. And something else I've noticed that you may notice if you shop in the and you work with men's clothes at all, or women's for that matter, is if you see one really nice high-end thing, you should scour, because a lot of times people bring all their stuff in. So you'll have 5 Eileen Kimball, blazers, or you'll have, 4 pair. Like today I found 3 pair of Echo men's shoes, and one was a pair of golf shoes, and the other 2 were kind of dress / casual black lace-up shoes. And I do pretty well with Echo. I just decided to buy 2 of them instead of the third one, because the third one was a little bit beat up and I didn't want to deal with that. That's with everything that's good, there's always something on the other side. And my mother often says, she goes, I can't believe you're selling used shoes, because she's like, ooh, I wouldn't buy used shoes. But the thing about it is, I clean them up so good that, they barely look used. And, and if they have a scuff or anything like that, I'll always put that, of course, disclose that so that there's not a problem. But, so I'm feeling good about leaning into these 3 categories and trying to find the best places to find a lot of this stuff. And I think that's the key. And I'll probably make many, many more adjustments. I'm starting to sell a lot of hard goods now on Etsy because it looks like I can make more money on Etsy. And Etsy is considered very much a gift type platform. People go there to buy gifts a lot of times. Now, eBay, of course, has a larger audience than Etsy does, but I think on Etsy, you get more money. You can sell the same thing and get more money a lot of times. Not always. There's no absolutes in this game. But I'm seeing that. And I also kind of like the idea of being on Etsy. And in fact, I'm starting to put some things on Etsy that I don't put on eBay. The funny thing to me, I watched this long, drawn-out cross-listing video the other day on Nifty, and the girl that gave it was real sweet and very helpful and seemed to really know her stuff. But she it's like, and then I do this to check up on them, and then I do that. It was like, this is she was really selling them, and I think they were sponsoring her. But the funny thing to me was, I thought, she was constantly double checking to make sure there wasn't a glitch and that she didn't have something listed twice, and that so that she was in a position where she could sell something twice by mistake. And, I started thinking about it. I thought, so for $90 or whatever a month, you're doing as much work as you were before. Nifty's probably going to send me a nasty mail. I don't know if they can get in touch with me. But, it's kind of like, and I know there's a lot of other benefits to Nifty, so I'm not saying it doesn't have value and it's not worth it. But the main reason for Nifty, in my opinion, is to keep you from double selling things, which is a disaster. And then you've got the other problem, like I didn't even get on Poshmark because of this crazy, you got to share everything and whatever, and that's another thing Nifty does for you. But then I heard that there's a rash of people being being suspended on Poshmark right now for delisting. In other words, you sell something on eBay and then you got to take it off of Poshmark. If you do it too often, they're going to suspend you. Now, it sounds like it's not hard to get back on, but I thought, what a bunch of nonsense. It just seems crazy to me. And I know we always have to adapt, but I tried Poshmark when I first got into doing this, and to me, it seemed like a lot of hassle. And I know everything is a lot of hassle. You got to choose your hassle and decide, what works for you and what you're doing. And for me right now, it's eBay and Etsy and Depop. And stay tuned. I'm still not doing a lot yet on Etsy and Depop. I've been on them for maybe a month now, and it's taken a while, I'll be honest, but it took a while. I have to always remind myself it took a lot of time on eBay too. But the thing that you have to think about with repeat customers, by trying to brand yourself the best way you can on whatever platform you're in and get a reputation, what you want people saying, of course, is, wow, writing down your site so they can get to you because they know you've got great plus size clothes, or they know you've got great men's shoes, or they know you've got whatever you sell, that you're, great sportswear, great formal wear, hip stuff for kids that are in their 20s, that's trendy, all of that. And if you can, find a few categories that meet your needs, that you can get your hands on for a reasonable price, that's the key too. I could find a lot of categories that I can sell on eBay, but the problem is most of them, I'm having a hard time finding them where they're not too expensive. So that's the key. I'm looking down because my cat's looking like he's gonna jump in my lap. And that always startles me. Plus, sometimes when he jumps, he puts his claw in so he'll stabilize, and then he rips my legs to pieces. Anyway, so much about my psycho cat. I love him anyway. I usually have a cover in my lap to protect my skin, but I unfortunately forgot to bring that over. But he's playing right now. He's about 8 years old, and he still plays like a kitten, which I think's got to be a good sign, right? But anyway, so find areas that you can gain a reputation in, and watch to see if you're, the people that are following you are starting to go up, because that's the sign right there that you've got followers. And, there's always other options. Keep your options open. If you have a lot of followers, you can always, carry them with you. I'm sure if you go to a Shopify situation or you open up your own site, and if nothing else, you can always say, I've done all of this. You have some credibility basically once you start up, and what you can start up with. The only thing that keeps most of us off of Shopify is that you have to bring your own traffic. You have to attract your own customers, and that's the part that's hard for most of us. And we're kind of doing a mini version of it on eBay by getting our title right, our keywords right, and knowing what to sell. But on Shopify, and I've been watching, just trying to decide. I always want to have a lot of options, and I think that's important in business. The tricky, it's not tricky, but the thing we need to always keep in mind, I think, is being a business owner versus being a employee mentality. And if you spend a lot of time in corporate America or whatever, of course you're automatically more of an employee temperament or whatever. You think that way. Your mindset is, tell me what I need to do. And I'm still very much that way myself. That's why I'm addicted to the YouTube videos. But I hope this helped you. If anything, I'm just saying, don't ignore repeat customers. And if you find a niche that you see patterns where you're just continually getting consistent business from that niche, and you can find the clothes, or you can at least find out where to get them. And it doesn't have to be clothes. It could be hard goods. It could be butter dishes. It could be anything. In fact, I laughed the other day. This woman on Etsy was talking about how many butter dishes she sells. I was like, wow, who would have thought that? Because I don't think I ever noticed butter dishes out. I'm sure I've seen a few, but maybe it's just because I didn't think about them and I didn't think they'd be worth anything. But I'm excited about that. And with wedding season and prom season coming up and all that, I'm thinking about what's coming up and the trends and trying to really buy a lot of things in that situation, even though I know it's freezing right now and it's hard to believe that prom season's around the corner, wedding season's around the corner, vacations are coming up, where people get out more and they're, going on more trips. Although a lot of people do go on trips in the winter, but I think that there's more that do it in the warmer weather. So just don't ever let your business get stale, and don't forget about those people that keep coming back. Nurture them. However best you can on your platform without getting in trouble, because I'm sure there's some real no-nos. But, hey, it's good to have options. And, that's the big picture orientation that business owners have that many employee-minded people don't have. And because I did about equal time in corporate America and on my own, I always think about my escape route in case I need it. Well, what if this happens? And of course, you don't want to be too negative and expect the worst, because then you'll probably get it. As they say, you get what you expect. And I do think there's a lot of truth in that. But thanks for hanging out with me. I hope the weather, we've had some beautiful weather here, and now tonight it's freezing cold again in the metro Atlanta area. But take it easy, and I'll see you on the next video. Bye-bye.